a certain point, you can just make yourself nuts. And I think you're not having fun, or you're even like really enjoying it. Yeah, but you'll remember working on them, and you'll remember the people that you worked with too, right? So those things end up being really powerful over time, because that's what's magical, like that kind of like aspect of it. How do I stay present? I stay present by giving myself time to just have like enjoy things, right? Like if I let's say I'm like, okay, I'm gonna wake up at 5, and from 5 to 5:30, I'm gonna get up and take my vitamins and drink 16 fluid ounces of water, and then at 5:30 I'm gonna go for a run, and I'm gonna run for 45 minutes, and then I'm gonna whatever, take a shower. Then after that I'm gonna read for this long, and then and then at at this and at this and at this. And I think for me, if I do that, then I'm thinking about I find myself thinking about like the next steps too much, and I feel like I'm not having fun, like, because sometimes you're like, oh, this run is awful, and you should just be totally fine to be like, I'm gonna go home. Whatever, I'm gonna cut this run short. I'm done. I don't want to run today. That's fine. And that's what it's kind of like, but like sometimes you're like, I love running. Oh, this is amazing. I could run for another hour. Well, shoot, I will. I'll just run for it. You got to allow yourself to kind of like have a little bit of flexibility in your time frame of what you're doing. And so I think, work is, when work comes up, there's a schedule, there's a calendar, right? And you have like all these meetings, and they're like half an hour to an hour. And, sometimes like your calendar can get overwhelming, but you got to give yourself like room to like, some meetings should be able to stretch for a while. Some meetings it's like, this meeting's only 10 minutes and that's it. Yeah, good. That's totally fine. We don't need to talk about anything else. Goodbye. And you just have to kind of like go with the flow. So I think that's kind of how I stay present. Just kind of like looking at yourself and how are you feeling as you're doing these tasks. You plan for the future. You try to do a good job, but let's say like you have like 6 tasks, in your crazy setup of like, I'm being the most well-rounded person in the world. I'm going to do music for 1 hour, and I'm going to do this for 1 hour, and I'm going to, work out for 1 hour, and I'm going to draw for 1 hour. And then and at a certain point, you can just make yourself nuts. And I think you're not having fun, or you're even like really enjoying it. Do you know what I mean? And so it's just like, although like, sure, there's benefits to being like, oh, I didn't want to run, but I pushed through and I got it, it's like, great, but at the same time, you just want to like enjoy life. And I think that's just kind of like the balance, because there's no, this is it. Like, this is the life. This is what you're doing. This is your life. And so, you're stuck with yourself. You bring yourself everywhere you go. So if you like, I think just kind of like thinking about it in that way, there's a lot of ways to do that. People use like mindfulness tactics. Meditation is a good one, just like focusing on your breathing, things like that. So there's a lot of ways to kind of like try to stay as present as you can. I do have some friends that just are like, it's 10:45, and so I have to go, and they have to, they're like almost like it's like 10-minute intervals of their whole life, and I'm just like, but like, where's like the room for you just to like hang out and let kind of like spontaneity come in? Because if you know how it is, like if you sit down and you're like, from 10:30 to 11:30 is when I'm creative, it's not gonna, it almost never works that way.
Yeah, for sure. That's something that personally I'm actually just learning now, so it's very interesting that you bring that up. By the time this interview will be out, maybe that I actually made a whole video on that.
Oh, great. There you go.
Yeah, that's something I'm just learning. That's fantastic. And I think Austin Kleon talks about it in his book, Keep Going, too. That is like so important. I cannot stress that, especially like, not only like the benefits of, you feel like you're actually like living your life, you're not comparing yourself to others, and you're totally right, there has to be that kind of, real life is surprises, you can't like plan for it. That's very very interesting.
Yeah, you could try. I mean, like, you don't want to have, it's this weird balance, right? You don't want to have no plan, like, but you kind of want to allow yourself to be like, wow, this is really great, or this is really working. I'm going to make more time for this, or, you know, I'm going to go with this, and or, you know, running's not working anymore for me. All right, well, let me try something else. You know, let me try, you know, rowing or kicking a soccer ball around or something like that.
Do you find that all, even if you do like running for like 2 weeks and then you stop because you hate it forever,
Yeah.
do you find that still like feeds into the other aspects of your life?
Yeah, I think so. I think uh, everything has like that, those elements to it. It's very rare that you'll find someone that will be like, you know, drawing's painful to me today. You know, I don't want to draw today. Every drawing I do, it's terrible. I worked with this amazing story artist. He's like a legend. He like directed 6 films, and he's so good. And I just remember one day he came into my office when we were all working, and it was like maybe 11 in the morning, and he's like, "I'm going home. I can't draw today. I can't. All my drawings are terrible." And I'm like, "Wow!" But like he, you know, he's a little bit older, and I was like, like, oh my gosh, that never goes away. You never get to the point where like you're just gonna be like stable, and there's not gonna be like any like emotional relation to this thing. It's always gonna be like, I can't draw today. Your drawings are probably just as good as they were yesterday, but for some reason you're in the mindset or whatever it is that's kind of like pulling you out of it, right? Sometimes, of course, you got to push through. Sometimes, for sure, but like it's really great to be like, um, if you're one of those people that's like, wow, I think, you know, staying present is like, I really don't want to draw today. My drawings are very painful. Maybe my drawings will get a lot better, or I'll feel a lot better about them if I take a day off, you know, things like that.
Yeah, for sure. Actually, when I first, one of the first times that we talked, that exact point like blew my mind because you were talking about your how your dreams changed as you went through this career and that stuff, and
Mm-hmm.
what you're focusing on now.
Yeah.
That like is it's comforting for sure,
Yes.
but at the same time, it's like, oh man, never, it never goes away. But I
Yeah.
think definitely, like,
Right.
you've
Yeah.
definitely gotten better at like dealing with it because you've had a ton of experience with.
Right. Well,
So you kind of know.
exactly. Is it like it's exactly what you're saying. Like, uh, and it's like you go through stages in your life where you're like, I'll never figure it out. This is a nightmare. This is awful, right? Oh my gosh. Like it keeps going on forever. There's no end to it. This is it. And then um, you'll flip and you'll be on the other side of it. And, you know, have you ever, do you know the myth of Sisyphus where the guy's like, it's a ancient Greek story and he's pushing the rock up the mountain, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So there's been lots of philosophical arguments about, is Sisyphus happy? Is Sisyphus sad? You know, but it's a metaphor for essentially like we're pushing this rock up a mountain just to see it fall down to the end of, you know, at the end of the day, and you have to push it back up, and that's kind of like your deal. And so like, can you find happiness within that process? And that's kind of like what we're kind of like, you know, I think that's what we're talking about, because like you're looking at that and you're like, oh man, I'll never get there, but at the same time you're like, oh, I'm so happy that there will never be, I'll never get there, because if I get there, there's nothing else, right? And so that thought's kind of scary as well.
Yeah, for sure. I think Austin Kleon also talks about that. You know, like the movie Groundhog Day.
Yeah,
How every
right.
day is the same. And
Yeah,
what do you do once you exhaust all that? That's
yeah,
wonderful because it definitely shifts your priorities. Like
yeah.
how you were saying, when you were talking about the art you create, like when it's truly like fearless, is usually just the fun stuff. And you mentioned it's not about like how the drawing turns out, it's about like the process of actually doing it, which I think is fantastic because I think that's what happens.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Ultimately, when you know, when you work on their projects, you'll remember working on them, and you'll remember, you know, editing videos late at night, or color grading on a music video, and you have all these ideas, but you'll remember working on them, and you'll remember the people that you worked with too, right? So those things end up being really powerful over time, because that's what's magical, like that kind of like aspect of it.
Oh, definitely.
So it's good to kind of remember those things. Of course, you want your projects to be good, but I've definitely had friends that have worked on movies that like didn't really turn out so great, but they're like, that was the best experience of my life. It was awesome. It was so fun, and we had so much fun working on it, didn't we? Oh yeah. Oh my gosh, dude, that was so cool when you did that one pitch that you did. They talk like that, and so you have this. You're like, wow, I want to work on a bad project that's fun. I don't know, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, it's like not about the result anymore. It's about your life, what you get out of it.
Yeah.
Is there a project or something that you're putting off because of fear?
Yes, absolutely. There's definitely projects that I definitely have to wrap my head around. And so they sit in my to-do list and they stare at me, and they're awful. And but it's kind of like what we were talking about. I could definitely take a little of my own advice here, and I could say that I should probably, start getting my hands dirty and start digging around to kind of like see like what comes out. Um, I think you want everything to work like clockwork. You're like, okay, here's a project, and I'm going to work on it for 6 hours, and then it's done, and then I turned it in. Great. Maybe there's if you can do that, that's awesome. But I think a lot of times it's like you have to really just let go of a lot of schedule and things like that, and just like start digging in and just have fun and see kind of like how far you can go. There's definitely projects that are weirdly kind of like small in stature. Like I owe someone a drawing, right? Let's say like I owe a friend a drawing, and then I don't know why, but like it's just like I like it's kind of like I keep putting it off. So I guess I have to kind of ask myself why I'm putting it off. And actually just talking about this right now, it feels like therapy, and I'm just like, oh yeah, why am I putting that off? I could probably do that today. But I think those things are there. I think you just have to spend time with them, and then they become a little bit less scary.
What do you think makes you put it off? Is it because, for me personally, when I put stuff off, even if I really want to work on it, it's because I'm afraid of it turning out terrible. Or I'm afraid of putting so much of myself into that. Do you relate to that at all? Or is there anything like that?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, you don't want it to be terrible. And so it takes time to, I was working on this drawing, and then I was talking to a friend on the phone, and I was like, I don't really like it. You know, and he's just like, dude, then why are you doing it? Like, this is like your free time, like, why are you putting this like, and so looking at that and like listening to that, which is, great to talk to friends if you have those friends that can help you with that. It's just like, all right, I just need to kick stuff around until I like it again. But I probably need to change my mind on whatever it is drastically to make it something that I want to do.
Oh,
I think I
definitely.
need like a head change, or like I need to like look at it from a different angle. And that's what like friends can help you with a lot better than sometimes when you're like mired in it. You know, they can help you like look at it from a different angle, and then because of that you can kind of like change your view of it, and then it could be like way more entertaining or inspiring. And you're kind of like looking for that.
Yeah, for sure. Are you like, it seems like you're like half an introvert and half an extrovert. Like
Yeah.
you definitely have the qualities of like introspection, but you also lean on your friends. I'm wondering,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, that definitely seems like it affects your work and how you do that.
Mm.
Did you have anyone who helped you and encouraged you to overcome fear, or that you learned that from?
Hmm. 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 Yeah, I think I've had some really great gurus like in my life. You know what I mean? Like friends or like mentors, right? Mentor people, or people that had some mentor aspects of that were able to push me in the right direction. One was a creative director I had, and he was terrific at pushing on really big ideas. He wanted me to think about really big ideas. It wasn't really about like, it's like, here's your work. I was working at a gaming company at the time, and I was an art director, and it's like, here's your work, but I also want you to look at these questions, these 5 questions. And they were like big questions, like, what's the next step for this whole process? What's a better way to, who can I talk to outside of this circle that can like open my mind about this process? And so those things ended up being like kind of philosophical questions that were really good to kind of like open up different avenues of looking at what I was doing instead of getting so mired in it all the time. Those people usually kind of like show up kind of like organically. You'll talk to someone, you'll have a connection to them, and you'll kind of like be on the same page. And when you're on the same page, it's like, it's incredible because like, you can really kind of like, they can really kind of like help you read that. And so, like read yourself, get to goals that you didn't even really think that you were on the horizon. Bye.